That call, it's a scam. That once in a lifetime investment your cousin swear he vetted, a scam. That play your coworker whispered like it was top secret intel, ma'am, still a scam. Welcome to Con Artist Code, where we expose the schemes, laugh at the audacity, and keep your wallet out of witness protection. Like, comment, and subscribe. Because scammers never sleep, but we stay ready. Brooklyn, summer heat, waving off the sidewalk like a mirage. They say a miracle lived on Saratoga Avenue. A pastor with diamond cuffs, velvet voice, and a plan to turn tithe payers into landlords. He called himself Pastor Lionel Bright. The internet called him Bishop Drip. On Sunday, he floated down the aisle in a cream suit that cost more than a Corolla. The choir swelled. Cameras perched on tripods. Facebook Live was already pushing 5,000 views. Family, he said. Quote unquote, God told me to open the gates of property ownership. The sanctuary hummed. I was there, dash, dash. Maya, single mom, rent due on the first and faith due every day. My mama used to say, quote unquote, faith ain't blind, she just don't squint at the numbers. But when Pastor Bright flashed those renovation photos, before and after so pretty you could smell fresh paint through the screen, I felt my budget blink. He rolled a sizzle reel, boarded windows popping into picture-ready brownstones, tenants smiling, Zion Estates Fund in gold letters. Minimum 5,000 investment, quarterly returns, deed-backed security, he said. People shouted, not a hallelujah. Where do I sign? Quick pause for anybody listening. Anytime somebody says easy, money, and guaranteed in the same breath, your brain should hear a fire alarm, not a praise break. If they can't explain the risk like they explain the blessing, that is the first red flag. After church, Sister Denise waved the brochure like a winning ticket. Girl, I'm tired of landlords. Time to be one. Her laugh made courage sound affordable. We posed for a selfie with Pastor Bright. His chain winked. He smelled like cologne and closed deals. At the folding table by the exit, they'd set up a Zion Estates interest station. iPads, clipboards, a square reader glowing like a tiny portal to generational wealth. No pressure, the volunteer smiled. But the earlier you sow, the earlier you reap. I flipped through the brochure. No audited financials, no list of properties actually owned, just stock photos and scriptures. Somewhere in my head, Mama put her hands on her hips. Quote unquote, baby, fine print is still print. Read it. Financial note number 1, from my future self to you. Real investments come with boring paperwork. If the documents are shouty, but the numbers are shy, keep your card in your purse. That night, his Facebook Live cracked 20,000. He preached from a gleaming office, skyline behind him like God's resume. Zion Estates is community capital, he purred. We buying back the block. We don't beg banks. We become the bank. Comments rained. Pastor, say less. Do we cash app? Bless me with a contract. I watched from my couch. My son asleep in the next room, lulled in the hum of the window unit, fighting Brooklyn August. You ever get tired of starting over? Bright asked the camera. I did. Tired of bounce checks. Tired of fixing my credit like it was a group project with no partners. I almost wired my savings right then, but Mama's voice pressed pause. Quote unquote, the truth is public. I grabbed a pen and scribbled a list on a napkin. County clerk, deed search. LLC lookup, state database. Investor.gov, red flags checklist. Still, I couldn't shake that reel of brick to beauty. Here's the thing about scams that use scripture. They don't just chase your money. They chase your hope. And when you're tired enough, hope will sign papers your logic never would. Next day at work, I cornered my coworker, Tasha, by the microwave. You ever heard of a real estate fund at church? I asked. She side-eyed me over her Tupperware. Girl, the only fund my pastor got is a building one that never builds nothing. I showed her the Zion brochure on my phone. She whistled low. It's pretty, she said, but so are fake Louis bags. Her phone buzzed. Speaking of scams, she laughed. Look at this. A random text link promising 50,000 in grant money if you just click and confirm your bank. That play your coworker shared, a scam, that text link, it's a scam. She deleted it, no hesitation. Funny how we recognize small scams and still flirt with bigger ones. That evening, I pulled my bank app up like it was a confession booth. Savings, 6,200. If I sent 5,000, that left 1,000 and change between us and disaster. You do not invest what you need for rent, food, or emergencies, Mama's voice reminded. I did the math anyway. If Bright's 8% quarterly was real, that was 32% a year. Financial tip: when promised returns start looking like lottery numbers, it's not a blessing. It's a risk masquerading as one. 2 days later, the group chat lit up. Early birds got 8%, screenshots of deposits. Even Deacon Earl, stingy as a winter's sun, posted a smile. Won't he do it? I told myself it was proof. Maybe it was bait. That Sunday, Bright invited testimonies from new investors. A brother in a two-type blazer grabbed the mic. I put in 10, he said, chest out. Already seen 800 back? That's more than my savings account did in years. The church roared. Nobody asked to see his statement. Financial note: scammers love proof you can't independently verify. Screenshots can be edited. Testimonies can be staged. If the only evidence lives on their screen and not with a licensed third party, bank, custodian, regulator, you're not investing, you're donating. After service, Denise cornered me by the stained glass. You in or what? She asked. I'm still researching, I said. She rolled her eyes. Maya, you always overthinking. Sometimes you gotta leap. I wanted to tell her, rich people don't leap without a lawyer and a spreadsheet. Instead, I said, maybe I just like my ankles unbroken. That night, I sat at the tiny table in my kitchen, bills fanned out like tarot cards, light bill, daycare, student loans I pretended were in witness protection. $5,000 was a car, a cushion, a way out if something went left. But $5,000. Could it also be the door to everything I've been grinding for? I stared at my son's artwork on the fridge, stick figures holding hands under a crooked rainbow. Mama's trying, I whispered. I'm trying to make us a soft place to land. I sent 5,000. The receipt glowed on my phone like a bright idea. Mama's photo on the fridge looked disappointed. It's okay, I whispered. Quote unquote, it's deed backed. The refrigerator hummed like it knew better. Somewhere between that hum and my heartbeat, a quiet voice I would later call wisdom cleared its throat. If you're listening to this now, remember faith can move mountains, but your money still deserves a calculator. The first week after I sent the money, I slept light. Not nightmares, just numbers. 5,000 marching across my eyelids like they were late for work. Zion Estates sent a welcome email the next morning. Dear valued partner, it began. Not investor, not shareholder. Just partner, like we were splitting fries. They attached a subscription agreement that looked like it had been dragged through Canva and baptized in clip art. Quick note for anybody listening, period. The contract should match the pitch. If they promised deed-backed security on the mic, but the paperwork never mentioned specific properties, lien positions, or who actually holds title, that's not a deal. That's a costume. Sunday came. The sanctuary buzzed like a beehive that just got a grant. Folks strutted in with new notebooks titled Real Estate Goals. Denise wore a blazer the color of fresh money. Investor green, she called it. Bright hit the pulpit with a tablet in one hand and a leather portfolio in the other. Family, he smiled. Quote unquote, the first tranche has closed successfully. A graph flashed on the screen. Lines going up, numbers we couldn't audit but desperately wanted to believe. This is called leverage, he said. The bank's been doing it to us for decades. Zion Estates gonna flip the script. We take one building, refinance, Buy two, two become four, four become a kingdom. People shouted like they'd just seen generational curses pack their bags. Me, I wrote leverage in my notebook and underlined it 3 times. Financial tip right here in Act 2. Leverage is just debt in a church outfit. Used carefully, it can grow wealth. Used recklessly, it's how castles collapse. If somebody explains leverage and you don't know who owes who what by the end, they're not teaching, they're hiding. After service, they held an investor brunch in the fellowship hall. Styrofoam plates, lukewarm chicken, grape juice in plastic cups they called mimosas in faith. Bright glided from table to table like a campaign trail, dropping phrases. Equity play, off market, wait friends and family round. He stopped at our table. Maya, he said, like we'd grown up together. I saw your commitment come through. Single mothers with vision. Heaven is taking notes. Compliments sound different when your money is on their hard drive. They feel less like encouragement, more like anesthesia. I just want to understand the structure better, I said. Who's the custodian for our funds? Are the properties already in the LLC? Is there a private placement memorandum? His smile didn't move, but his eyes blinked slow. You got a sharp mind, he said. Most people don't know those words. That's why they stay broke. He laughed like he'd made a joke. Nobody else did. We'll schedule a one-on-one, he added. My assistant will send you the deck. Deck, not documents, not disclosures. A slideshow with vibes. Financial note. Dot. Serious investments come with disclosure, not just design. You should see risk factors, fees, who gets paid first if things go left, and exactly what your rights are. If they hand you a pretty pitch and get offended when you ask for ugly details, that's your cue to walk. The next week, Zion's Instagram turned into HGTV with altar calls. Reels of our latest acquisition. Fresh paint, new fixtures, a tenant holding keys like a trophy. Caption screamed, "This is what community capital looks like." In our group chat, Denise circled units on a screenshot. "This the one I want," she typed. "Second floor, corner light. I'm going to put plants right there." I stared at the photo, then at the word fund on our contracts. Nothing in writing said we live in those units. Hope had started building floor plans where our signatures never promised. One night, after putting my son to bed, I finally did the thing Mama told me. I went to the county's online deed search, typed in Zion Estates LLC. No matches found. I tried Bright's full name. A few condo units popped up, none of them the we properties he'd bragged about. I checked the address from the Instagram reel. The deed belonged to Saratoga Redevelopment Group, LLC. Not Zion, not the church, something adjacent. My stomach folded like bad origami. Financial tip right on this beat. When somebody says, "We own this," you should be able to prove it without their marketing materials. County websites, title companies, public records, those are receipts. Screenshots and sentimental speeches are not. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe the fund had a master LLC under a different name. Maybe the paperwork was processing. It's amazing how fast your brain can start doing PR for somebody you barely know once your money moves in with them. A few days later, an email slid into my inbox. Subject line, "Important update, custodial transition." Due to overwhelming favor, it read, "Zion Estates funds are migrating to a new custodial relationship. During this transition, statements and withdrawals may be temporarily delayed." No timeline, no name of the old custodian, no name of the new one. Just favor doing all the heavy lifting. I forwarded it to Denise. "You worried?" I asked. She replied with 3 laughing emojis and a gif of someone shouting, "I trust God." Here's the hard truth I had to learn. Trusting God and trusting a person are not the same thing. God does not need NDAS, wire instructions, or a luxury car lease. People do. And people should be verified.
That week's Bible study turned into a soft sales pitch. Instead of Romans or Psalms, Bright preached from the book of Next Level. The enemy hates elevation, he said. When you step into ownership, warfare shows up. Some of y'all have been hearing little doubt voices. His eyes flicked in my direction, questioning what God already blessed. The room murmured. Nobody wanted to be the doubt voice. Doubt gets preached about like it's a demon, but sometimes it's just your budget trying to keep you alive. After study, I caught his assistant near the sound booth. Hey, I said, that one-on-one we talked about. She flashed a tight smile. Pastor's been traveling, she said, but we're putting together a group Zoom for all the concerned partners. Concerned partners, not investors with rights, just fussy cousins at the cookout. That night, I lay awake, listening to the sirens outside and the fridge humming inside. Brooklyn sounded the same. I didn't. Somewhere between midnight and my alarm, I made a quiet promise to myself and whoever was listening. If this was legit, I'd tell everyone exactly how to check it. And if it wasn't, I'd make sure nobody else walked into a sanctuary and left with a scam in Jesus' handwriting. That's how Act 2 ended for me. Not with a bang, but with a question. Not, is God real? But who exactly is holding my money? And why do they get offended when I ask?
Began with a calendar invite. Subject: Zion Estates investor Q and A. Mandatory attendance encouraged. Mandatory. Encouraged. How you going to be both? The email promised full transparency and clarity in this season of elevation. My stomach didn't buy a ticket for that ride. The Zoom room filled fast. Profile pics of members, investors, aunties who still typed with one finger but didn't want to be left out. Denise joined with her camera off, probably pacing with that legal pad she carried everywhere lately. The chat buzzed. Where Pastor at? Is this about the delays? God is still good. Bright's assistant popped in first, all tight smile and corporate casual earrings. Thank you, partners, she said, for your patience during this unprecedented growth. Growth, not questions, not concerns. Growth. Then Bright appeared. Not in the Skyline office this time, just a dimly lit room with a dying plant and a stack of moving boxes behind him. His face looked puffy, like sleep hadn't returned his calls. Family, he started. I know some of y'all been troubled. He closed his eyes like the word physically hurt him. God told me this is a testing season. The enemy is using doubt to divide what he is trying to multiply. The chat paused. You could almost feel people wondering if their fears were suddenly demonic. I unmuted. Pastor, with respect, we just want details. Who holds the escrow? What properties are actually under Zion Estates? The assistant jumped in like she'd been waiting for me. We're finalizing some transitions, Maya. The paperwork is being updated to reflect new partnerships. Updated. Transitioning. Words that mean nothing when they avoid saying anything. Denise typed in the chat, show the deeds. Someone else, where are our statements? A third person, what bank? You never named the bank. Bright sighed like we were exhausting him. Family, sometimes God gives vision before details. Abraham didn't have a roadmap. That was my breaking point. With respect, Abraham also wasn't asking for wired funds, I said. A couple of cameras flicked on just to nod. Financial note, right here in Act 3. When someone replaces documentation with scripture, they're not leading you spiritually. They're distracting you financially. Bright raised his voice, not yelling, just performing disappointment. I see doubt has entered some hearts. Doubt will make you miss destiny. The refinance we're approaching could triple your harvest if you stay aligned. Denise unmuted. Her tone could have sliced marble. Sir, I put in 90,000. I'm not asking for destiny. I'm asking for a deed. The Zoom chat erupted. 90K? He promised you what? We need a meeting in person.
Bright frowned, his voice dropping to a pastor whisper, the one meant to sound like wisdom but really means he's scrambling. Denise, sweetheart, the kingdom takes bold seed. God will not embarrass you. Denise leaned into her camera, face fully lit. God's not the one who promised me a unit on Saratoga. You did. Silence, long enough to feel like a verdict. The assistant quickly ended the meeting. We'll reconnect soon. Please keep Pastor in prayer. The screen blinked black. My phone buzzed immediately. Denise calling. Girl, she said, breath sharp. None of this feels right. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Let's start pulling records, I said. Everything, all of it. We were quiet a second. The kind of quiet where shock wears off and strategy starts breathing. Financial tip: when your gut finally catches up to your bank account, don't freeze, investigate. Scammers depend on your embarrassment more than your ignorance. Over the next week, the church shifted. Whispers in the lobby, folks avoiding eye contact like guilt was contagious. Even choir rehearsal felt tense, altos hitting notes that sounded like suspicion. Bright, meanwhile, started showing up in casual sweats instead of suits. He preached shorter sermons, left outside doors, and stopped live streaming from that fancy office we'd all envied. On Friday, a reporter showed up on the sidewalk after service. Are you one of the Zion investors? He asked me. My heart stuttered. How do you know about Zion? He held up his phone. Screenshots, complaints, anonymous tips. We're looking into Pastor Bright, he said. Off the record, did he promise you returns? I swallowed hard. He promised us the block, I said. I'm just now realizing he never showed us the paperwork. The reporter scribbled notes. If you find anything, anything at all, contact me. I walked home in a fog, the kind where every streetlight feels like it's interrogating you. When I got inside, I opened my laptop, pulled up the folder of everything Zion had ever sent. Emails, PDFs, reels, the flimsy contract. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I let myself say the word. Scam. And that's how Act 3 closed. Not with certainty, but with clarity. Not with rage, but with resolve. The money was gone, but the truth, that was just starting to show up.
Act 4 started with the kind of group chat alert that makes your throat tighten. Denise. He's deleting posts. Screenshots poured in, Instagram reels gone, captions edited, comments turned off like a switchboard in a storm. Zion Estate's whole digital footprint was shrinking. The sizzle reels, the renovation tours, the keys to the kingdom testimonials, poof, only a single photo remained, Bright in that cream suit, smiling like a man who owed nobody a thing. I texted Denise directly. Something's happening, she replied instantly. We need answers in person. That Wednesday, we met in the fellowship hall. Me, Denise, Earl, Sister Lorraine, 2 choir members, and 3 ushers who didn't invest but felt in their spirit something was off. The room smelled like coffee, Lysol, and the kind of fear people don't want to name. We need to request documentation formally, Lorraine said. She slid a printed packet across the table. FOIL requests, investor rights templates, a checklist from investor.gov. They can ignore questions, she said softly. They can't ignore paper. Financial tip, Act 4 edition. Scammers thrive on confusion and private conversations. The moment you move from verbal to written requests, from can you explain to please provide, the game shifts. Earl stood up, adjusting his jacket like he was about to negotiate a hostage release. We confront him tonight, he said. Bible study starts at 7. He'll be here early. At 6:40, we lined up outside his office door. The hallway lights flickered, an eerie soundtrack for the moment greed meets consequences.
Bright arrived in joggers and a hoodie, not a suit in sight. He froze when he saw us. Family, he said, voice polite but tight. This looks serious. Denise stepped forward, legal pad held like scripture. We need transparency, deeds, custodian information, transaction logs. Bright's smile twitched. Sis, why are you bringing the world into what God is doing? The enemy loves paperwork. Earl crossed his arms. Banks love paperwork too, he said. And they the ones who go on to ask about these missing funds. Bright sighed, long, theatrical, like he was too anointed for administrative work. Fine, let's have a meeting. Tonight, Fellowship Hall. He pointed at each of us. But no phones, no recordings, no disruptions. Red flag rolled in glitter. No recording is scammer speak for I'm about to freestyle. We gathered in the hall at 7. The folding chairs clicked into rows like they were bracing themselves. His assistant passed around confidentiality agreements like communion. We won't be signing these, I said. Denise echoed. We want transparency, not secrecy. Bright strode in, sleek haircut, exhausted eyes, smile running on fumes. Family, he began. This is a spiritual attack. Doubt, envy, outside influences trying to break what we're building. Who holds the deeds? I asked. We do, he snapped. The kingdom. Which LLC? He blinked. Zion-related entities. Name one. Silence. Then he pulled a new folder from his bag and slid it across the table. Here, he said. Updated agreements. We opened them. New LLC name, new address, new terms. And at the bottom, period. Non-refundable participation fee. Denise closed the folder slowly. So you want more money, she said, before showing us where the first money went. Bright's jaw tightened. If you can't handle elevation, he said, you were never meant for ownership. Financial Truth, Act 4. Scammers flip the script so you feel unworthy of asking questions. Healthy investments encourage questions. Fraud punishes them. I pulled out a printed sheet, public deed records. This property you claimed is ours, I said, owned by Saratoga Redevelopment Group. This one? Behind on taxes. This one? Doesn't exist in the registry. His smile collapsed. Do you trust God? He asked quietly. I do, I said. That's why I'm asking for receipts. A ripple went through the room. Not applause, but awakening. We won't be signing anything, Earl said, and we want a full accounting by Friday. Bright stared at us like we betrayed him. Then he grabbed his folder and walked out. No prayer, no blessing, no goodbye. Denise exhaled hard. We need legal help, she said, and we need it now. Act 4 closed on one truth. We weren't confused. We weren't dramatic. We weren't disloyal. We were defrauded. And for the first time, Bright knew we knew it.
Act 5 opened with the kind of quiet that sits heavy on a community. The Sunday after our confrontation, church felt like someone had turned the saturation down on real life. No laughter in the lobby, no kids running between pews. Even the organ warmed up slower, like it wasn't sure if praise was appropriate that morning. Bright wasn't there. A visiting minister filled in, preaching a vague sermon about storms and betrayal that didn't name anyone but indicted everyone. Sometimes, he said, the flock wounds the shepherd. People shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded, but most just stared straight ahead. The way folks do when they know the sermon isn't about God. It's about gossip control. Afterward, a few members pulled me aside. Maya, are y'all sure? One whispered. He's done so much for us. Another shook her head. This is spiritual warfare. The devil attacks prosperity the hardest. Financial Truth, Act 5. Scams survive because communities don't want to believe their healer is their harm. People cling to familiarity even when it's draining their bank account.
Outside on the sidewalk, Denise was on the phone, talking fast, pacing fast, thinking faster. She hung up and said, I found an attorney, pro bono. They want statements. By Tuesday night, 15 of us were on a Zoom call with a lawyer who looked like she ate loopholes for breakfast. She didn't blink once. Tell me everything, she said. We did. The promises, the deposits, the vague contracts, the deleted posts, the evasive answers. When we finished, she exhaled slowly and said, This has a structure of a Ponzi-adjacent real estate scheme. Denise's screen flickered. Her eyes went glossy. Earl muted himself. We could still see his jaw clench. We need documentation, the attorney continued. Bank statements, offering materials, anything that shows where the money went. She looked directly into her camera. And we'll need more victims. Victims. Hearing the words spoken aloud made everything real in a way facts alone hadn't. Financial lesson, dot. You are not disloyal for seeking legal help. You are responsible. Fraudsters weaponize loyalty to keep you quiet. Lawyers turn your quiet into a case. Over the next days, names began trickling in. A choir member who invested $15,000, a deacon's aunt who put in $40,000, a young couple saving for fertility treatments. They lost 12 grand. Every story hurt. Every voice cracked. And every new victim added fuel to the fire. Bright hoped we'd smother. Meanwhile, Bright went live again, this time from what looked like a rental car. There's a smear campaign against me, he announced. The devil is busy. I am under attack from jealous spirits. Comments flooded in. We love you, Pastor. Don't let haters stop the vision. The enemy uses familiar faces. I watched from my couch, my son asleep beside me. And for a moment, I almost felt guilty. That's the thing about charisma. It doesn't disappear just because the truth shows up. A few hours later, Denise called. He blocked me, she said, voice flat. Blocked me on Facebook, on Instagram, even on Cash App. I rubbed my forehead. That's a sign of what? That he's running. 2 days later, Earl texted, meeting, tonight, in person, don't come alone. We met again in the fellowship hall. This time, more people were there. Victims who hadn't spoken up before, ushers acting like security, even two choir dads who don't like mess but ain't letting nobody play with their money. Bright walked in last. His posture was sharp, jaw tight, movements clipped. He didn't greet anyone. This needs to stop, he said. You're causing division. Division is worse than theft. Denise stood slowly. Did you steal from us? He didn't answer. Did you lie to us? He looked at the floor. Did you ever own those properties? Bright closed his eyes. The vision was real, he said quietly. The money, the timing didn't align. That was the closest he'd ever come to confessing. The room erupted. People shouting, crying, asking where their life savings went. Bright backed toward the exit. I won't be attacked, he said. I'm fasting, I'm praying, I'm seeking God. And then he slipped out the side door. We sat there stunned. A flock without a shepherd, but with a case file. What now? Someone whispered. Now, I said. Now we turn the receipts into repercussions. And that's where Act 5 leaves us. Not defeated, not confused, not alone. We had each other. We had evidence. And most importantly, we had finally stopped calling theft a testimony.
Act 6 opened in a room that smelled like stale coffee, paper, and justice warming up. 30 of us squeezed into the basement of a community center. Victims, families, people who didn't want to believe but could no longer deny. The attorney sat at the front, laptop open, the projector glowing like a lighthouse. We've reviewed your documents, she began, adjusting her glasses. And we are moving forward with a formal complaint to the State Attorney General's office, the Department of Financial Services, and the District Fraud Unit. A wave rippled through the room, relief, fear, vindication. Earl whispered, This is really happening. The attorney tapped her keyboard. The screen filled with a flowchart titled, The Zion Estates Money Trail. Boxes, arrows, Shell LLCS, personal transfers, cash withdrawals. It looked less like real estate investing and more like a bowl of spaghetti the IRS would flip a table over. Pastor Bright moved funds between at least 9 entities, she explained. None registered as investment companies, none authorized to solicit public funds. Denise shook her head slowly. So he never intended to build anything? Oh, he intended to build, the attorney said. Just not real estate. She clicked to the next slide, Bright's personal purchases. Flights, jewelry, a Mercedes lease, a short-term condo rental listed as his office. Gas broke out. One elder covered her mouth. That car wasn't donated, she whispered. Financial lesson. Act 6 is where the truth gets loud. If someone needs your money to look successful, they were never successful. The attorney continued. We have grounds for fraud, misrepresentation, unregistered securities, and faith-based exploitation. We'll need official statements, timelines, screenshots, every receipt you have. Phones lit up the room as people forwarded emails, documents, Cash App receipts, like a digital offering plate of truth. Then came the moment we didn't expect. The doors opened, and in walked Sister Lorraine with 2 men carrying camera equipment. This is the reporter that approached us, she said. He wants to interview victims on record. A murmur washed over the room, fear mixing with fury. I don't want to be on TV, someone whispered. My family doesn't know I lost money, another said. I stood up. He counted on that shame, I said. He banked on us staying quiet, on us protecting his reputation over our recovery. We are not the embarrassment. He is. One by one, people nodded. A deacon stepped forward, then a young mother, then 2 choir members. Denise was last. She walked to the camera, shoulders back, chin steady. My name is Denise Carter, she said, voice unwavering. And I want my $90,000 back. The room didn't clap. The moment was too heavy for applause. But a current pulsed through us. A shift. A collective exhale we've been holding since Act 1. Later that night, as I walked home, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't know. I answered anyway. A voice, low and shaky, whispered, He's leaving town. My blood went cold. Who is this? The voice paused. Someone who used to work for him, she said. Check the airport in the morning. And just like that, the chase began. Act 6 ends with 3 truths. We had evidence, we had momentum, and the pastor who built a kingdom on lies was quietly preparing his escape. Act 7 wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with handcuffs on live stream or Bright sprinting through JFK in flip-flops. Closure, real closure, arrived quietly, like a letter slipped under a door. It came 3 months later. A case number, a formal notice from the Attorney General. Investigation initiated into Zion Estates and related entities. No exclamation points, no emojis. But the relief hit like fresh air after too many Sundays of holding your breath. Denise read the email aloud at our meeting. When she reached the final line, victims may be eligible for restitution, she covered her face and sobbed. Not because she got her money back, but because someone finally believed us. Bright resurfaced weeks later on a live stream from another city, another backdrop, another divine assignment. He spoke of haters, betrayals, and spiritual opposition. But this time, comments were different. Questions flooded in. Where's the money? Show the deeds? Why did the state contact me? His face changed. The internet had finally caught up. Meanwhile, at our church, healing took its time. A new pastor stepped in, Pastor Elaine, soft voice, firm boundaries, spreadsheets like Psalms. She introduced First Fridays, a finance night for the whole community.
Kids learn budgeting with Monopoly money. Aunties learn scam prevention. Even Earl asked about ETFS. One night, she asked me to speak. I stepped to the lectern, Mama's napkin tucked in my Bible like always. Here's what we learned, I said. Hope is holy, but due diligence is divine too. I read the list we wish we'd known sooner. Check state business registries. Verify property ownership through the county. Use investor.gov and FINRA broker check. Never invest money you need to live on. And don't confuse charisma with credibility. When I finished, a woman raised her hand. What if another pastor tries something like this again? I smiled gently. Then we don't panic, I said. Before we go, a word for you listening right now. Scams don't start with lies. They start with loneliness, hope, or hurry. Slow down, verify, protect what you've earned. And if this story taught you something, share it. Someone you love might be ignoring a red flag right now because it came wrapped in scripture, community, or charm. This is Con Artist Code. We expose the tactics so you don't become the testimony. If you want more stories, more financial protection tips, and more receipts, subscribe, share this, and stay smarter than the scam.